The latest on the 10-year-old boy killed at a Kansas water park on what is known as the world's tallest water slide. That slide now closed as we learn new details about the tragedy, and investigators try to determine what went wrong.
Water slides are the centerpiece of any water park, promising adrenaline-filled fun and a refreshing escape from the heat. Yet beneath the thrill lies the potential for danger when safety measures fail.
As his parents say, he fell from a slide, hitting the hard ground below, causing his death.
From design flaws to maintenance lapses, some water slide incidents have resulted in devastating tragedies. In this essay, we explore 15 of the most horrific water slide accidents, uncovering the stories behind the headlines and their impact on the industry. Veroo at Schlitterbahn Water Park, Kansas City, Kansas, 2016. On August 7, 2016, a tragic accident on the Veroo water slide at Schlitterbahn Water Park claimed the life of 10-year-old Caleb Schwab, leaving a permanent stain on the water park's legacy. Touted as the world's tallest water slide at 168 feet, Veroo was an engineering marvel, but ultimately proved to be fatally flawed. The ride consisted of a steep initial drop followed by a series of smaller hills, with rafts reaching speeds of up to 70 miles per hour. On the day of the accident, Caleb was riding with two women in a multi-person raft. As the raft crested one of the smaller hills, it went airborne, causing Caleb to strike a metal support hoop that was part of the ride's safety netting. The impact decapitated him instantly, while the two women sustained severe facial injuries. Investigations revealed significant design flaws in Veroo. Engineers had not used standard testing protocols, relying on trial-and-error methods rather than adhering to strict safety guidelines. The ride's weight distribution requirements for rafts were not clearly enforced, and the netting intended for safety actually introduced hazardous obstacles. Additionally, reports surfaced that Schlitterbahn had rushed to open the ride for publicity, bypassing critical inspections. In the aftermath, Veroo was immediately closed and Schlitterbahn faced criminal charges, including reckless behavior and negligence. The water slide was later dismantled, and the park paid a hefty settlement to the Schwab family. The tragedy also prompted stricter industry regulations, focusing on engineering standards and independent inspections. Action Park, New Jersey, 1980s. Known infamously as Accident Park, Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey became a symbol of chaos and danger during the 1980s. With its combination of poorly designed attractions and lax safety oversight, the park earned a reputation for injuries, lawsuits, and even fatalities. Action Park was famous for its extreme and often bizarre rides, such as the Cannonball Loop, a water slide featuring a full vertical loop. Riders were frequently injured inside the loop, where stuck debris from previous riders added to the danger. The Wavepool, nicknamed the Grave Pool, became another notorious attraction, with lifeguards rescuing dozens of people daily due to its overwhelming waves and inadequate safety measures. Tragically, several drownings occurred, including a 15-year-old boy in 1982. The park's lack of safety extended to its staff. Most ride operators were untrained teenagers who failed to enforce rules or recognize hazards. Medical staff were reportedly overwhelmed, handling dozens of injuries every day, ranging from minor abrasions to broken bones. Action Park's owners, led by Gene Mulvihill, were notorious for ignoring safety warnings and cutting corners on maintenance to save costs. By the late 1980s, public outcry and mounting lawsuits began to take their toll. Action Park temporarily closed in 1996, but not before causing at least 6 deaths and countless injuries. Documentaries such as Class Action Park have since highlighted its reckless history, turning it into a cautionary tale for amusement parks worldwide. Wavepool Drowning at Kislovodsk Water Park, Russia, 2020. On August 15, 2020, tragedy struck at a water park in Kislovodsk, Russia, when a chlorine gas leak turned a day of fun into a nightmare. The incident occurred at the Wavepool, where a chemical malfunction exposed visitors to toxic fumes, killing one young girl and injuring dozens of others, including children. The accident unfolded when overchlorinated water was mistakenly mixed with acid, creating a chemical reaction that released a toxic chlorine gas cloud. Witnesses described scenes of panic as swimmers began coughing and struggling to breathe, some collapsing from the fumes. Lifeguards and emergency responders rushed to evacuate the area, but for one girl it was too late. Others were hospitalized with respiratory issues, some requiring intensive care. Investigators found that improper handling and storage of pool chemicals were to blame. The water park's staff had not followed proper procedures for chemical mixing, and outdated equipment contributed to the failure. Additionally, the pool's ventilation system was inadequate, exacerbating the spread of the gas. The public outrage that followed led to widespread scrutiny of safety practices at water parks across Russia. Authorities mandated stricter chemical handling protocols and required parks to install advanced monitoring systems for chemical levels in pools. Staff training programs were also overhauled to ensure employees understood the risks of improper chemical management. Galaxy Slide, China, 2019. In July 2019, an overloaded Galaxy Slide at a water park in China resulted in chaos and injuries when a group of riders was flung off the slide due to its structural failure. The incident, which injured over a dozen people, underscored the dangers of exceeding ride capacity and inadequate enforcement of safety rules. The Galaxy Slide, a high-speed attraction designed for multiple riders on inflatable rafts, had clear weight restrictions to prevent overloading. However, witnesses reported that staff allowed a group of riders whose combined weight far exceeded the limit to board the slide. As the raft gained momentum, the slide's structure buckled under the excessive load, causing the raft to eject its passengers over the edge. Riders landed on hard surfaces, suffering broken bones, head injuries, and other serious trauma. An investigation revealed that the water park had failed to enforce weight restrictions and conduct routine structural inspections of the slide. Maintenance records showed signs of wear and stress on the slide, but these warnings had been ignored. Additionally, the park's staff lacked proper training on enforcing safety measures. The aftermath led to public outrage, prompting government authorities to conduct a nationwide review of water park safety standards. New regulations were introduced, requiring parks to strictly adhere to weight limits, improve employee training, and conduct regular inspections of ride structures. The Galaxy Slide was permanently decommissioned, and the park faced hefty fines and lawsuits from victims. Dreamworld Thunder River Rapids Ride, Australia, 2016. On October 25, 2016, a routine ride on the Thunder River Rapids at Dreamworld in Queensland, Australia, turned into a horrifying tragedy. 4 adults lost their lives when their raft collided with another and flipped, crushing 2 of the victims under the conveyor belt mechanism, while 2 others were thrown into the water and trapped by the machinery. The accident occurred when one of the ride's rafts became stuck on the conveyor belt. Another raft carrying the victims was propelled into the stationary one, causing it to flip backward. Despite the presence of a safety mechanism designed to halt the ride in such situations, it failed to activate. Witnesses described the harrowing scene as emergency responders attempted to rescue the victims, but it was too late. Investigations revealed serious lapses in maintenance and safety protocols. The ride had experienced similar issues before, but these were reportedly ignored by the park's management. Staff were inadequately trained to handle such emergencies, and Dreamworld faced widespread criticism for prioritizing operational efficiency over guest safety. The aftermath of the tragedy included a coronial inquest that exposed the park's failings and led to significant legal and financial repercussions. Dreamworld's parent company, Ardent Leisure, was fined $3.6 million, and several executives resigned in the wake of the incident. The park temporarily closed to overhaul its safety protocols, including upgrading ride technology, enhancing staff training, and implementing stricter maintenance procedures. Aqua Splash Water Park, France, 2014. In July 2014, a teenage boy lost his life when a water slide at Aqua Splash Water Park in Antibes, France, collapsed mid-ride. The incident shocked the local community and raised serious concerns about maintenance and safety standards at the park. The tragedy occurred on a high-speed slide that was one of the park's most popular attractions. As the boy descended the slide, a structural section gave way, causing him to fall several meters to the ground. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but the teenager succumbed to his injuries due to the severe impact. An investigation revealed that the slide had not undergone proper maintenance and inspections. Reports indicated that visible signs of wear, including cracks and weakened supports, had been overlooked by the park's management. Witnesses claimed that the slide had been operating at full capacity despite concerns raised by staff about its condition. The park faced legal action from the victim's family, resulting in significant fines and a temporary shutdown of operations. In response to the incident, French authorities introduced stricter safety regulations for water parks, mandating frequent inspections and requiring certified engineers to approve ride operations. Kalahari Resort, Ohio, 2021. In March 2021, an incident at the Kalahari Resort in Sandusky, Ohio, turned a day of fun into chaos when a raft on the Storm Chaser water slide capsized, injuring several riders. The attraction, a large funnel-style water slide, had been a popular feature of the resort, but the accident raised serious concerns about safety protocols and ride maintenance. The accident occurred when a multi-person raft entered the funnel section of the slide at high speed. Witnesses reported that the raft became unstable and flipped over, sending its passengers tumbling inside the slide. The riders sustained various injuries, including head trauma, fractures, and severe abrasions. Emergency responders quickly evacuated the injured individuals to a nearby hospital for treatment. An investigation revealed that the accident was likely caused by a combination of excessive water pressure and improper weight distribution in the raft. The slide's water flow settings had been altered during routine maintenance, but operators failed to revert them to the standard levels before reopening the ride. Additionally, ride attendants had not adequately enforced weight limits or balanced the distribution of passengers, which further destabilized the raft. The incident prompted immediate action from Kalahari Resort. The Storm Chaser slide was temporarily closed for inspection, and the resort implemented stricter operating procedures. Staff were retrained to enforce weight restrictions and monitor water flow settings more carefully. Engineers were also called in to recalibrate the ride's systems to prevent similar occurrences. Wavepool chaos at Waterworld, China, 2019. On July 29, 2019, a wave pool malfunction at Waterworld in Longjing, China, created what many described as a tsunami, injuring over 40 people. The incident, caused by a mechanical failure, turned a relaxing attraction into a scene of chaos and terror. The accident occurred when the wave machine in the pool malfunctioned, producing an enormous wave that overwhelmed swimmers and sent them crashing into the pool's walls and barriers. Witnesses reported that the wave was far larger and more powerful than typical settings, causing injuries such as broken bones, bruises, and head trauma. Video footage of the incident went viral, showing the sheer force of the wave and the panic it caused among visitors. Investigations revealed that the wave machine's control system had experienced a technical failure, resulting in the generation of waves far beyond safe operating limits. Compounding the issue, the pool was overcrowded at the time, which made evacuation difficult and increased the number of injuries. Maintenance records indicated that the machine had not been inspected regularly, and its outdated software lacked safeguards to prevent such malfunctions. The park faced significant backlash from the public and authorities. Waterworld temporarily closed the wave pool and introduced new safety measures, including updated software for the wave machine, regular inspections, and improved crowd control measures to limit the number of guests in the pool at any given time. Kentucky Kingdom, Kentucky, 1997. On June 21, 1997, a horrifying accident occurred at Kentucky Kingdom in Louisville, Kentucky, when a ride malfunction on the Superman, Tower of Power, led to a 14-year-old girl losing both of her legs. The incident left a lasting impact on the amusement park industry and raised serious questions about ride safety and maintenance protocols. The Superman, Tower of Power was a drop tower attraction that hoisted riders into the air before rapidly descending at high speeds. During one of these ascents, a steel cable that was part of the ride's mechanism snapped, whipping through the air and striking several riders. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with screams of pain as the cable severed the legs of the young girl seated on the ride. Emergency responders arrived quickly, and she was airlifted to a hospital, where doctors were forced to amputate both legs due to the severity of her injuries. Investigations revealed that the snapped cable had not been properly inspected or maintained, despite being a critical component of the ride. Over time, wear and tear had weakened the cable, but routine safety checks failed to identify the potential hazard. The park faced widespread criticism for its negligence, leading to lawsuits and a damaged reputation. In response, Kentucky Kingdom implemented sweeping changes to its safety protocols. The Superman, Tower of Power was permanently dismantled, and the park introduced more rigorous inspection schedules and staff training programs. The incident also prompted broader regulatory changes, with state authorities requiring stricter oversight of amusement park rides and maintenance records. Aqua Park near Moscow, Russia, 2004. On February 14, 2004, a devastating structural collapse at Transvaal Park near Moscow claimed the lives of 28 people and injured more than 100 others. The tragedy, which occurred inside the water park's domed roof area, shocked the nation and exposed significant flaws in construction practices and safety oversight. The incident happened on a busy weekend when the park was filled with families enjoying its water slides, wave pools, and other attractions. Without warning, the park's glass and steel roof caved in, sending massive debris crashing into the pools below. Survivors described a scene of chaos, with water rushing over fallen structures and patrons frantically trying to escape. Emergency responders worked tirelessly to rescue those trapped under the rubble, but the collapse proved deadly for many, including children. Subsequent investigations revealed that the roof had not been designed to withstand heavy snow accumulation, which had built up during an unusually harsh winter. Structural engineers found that shortcuts had been taken during construction, with substandard materials and inadequate design calculations contributing to the collapse. Additionally, the park's management had failed to properly clear snow from the roof, ignoring warnings from maintenance staff. The disaster prompted an overhaul of building codes across Russia, particularly for public spaces like water parks and shopping malls. Stricter guidelines were introduced for structural integrity, regular inspections, and emergency preparedness. The collapse also led to criminal charges against the park's operators and construction contractors, though public outrage remained high over the preventable nature of the tragedy. Calypso Water Park, Canada, 2011. In 2011, Calypso Water Park in Limoges, Ontario, became the center of controversy after a series of accidents on its popular steamer slide resulted in multiple injuries. The incidents not only tarnished the park's reputation, but also sparked a lengthy legal battle over safety standards and accountability in water parks. The steamer was a high-speed water slide that featured sharp turns and a funnel-shaped design intended to create a thrilling, unpredictable ride. However, riders frequently reported being violently ejected from their tubes during these sharp turns. In several cases, guests were thrown against the slide's hard walls, sustaining severe injuries, including broken limbs, head trauma, and concussions. One of the most severe accidents involved a woman who was thrown from her tube and suffered a fractured pelvis. Another victim sustained a serious spinal injury, raising questions about the safety of the slide's design and operational practices. Witnesses often described chaotic scenes at the ride's exit, where injured guests waited for medical assistance. Following these incidents, the Technical Standards and Safety Authority, which regulates amusement rides in Ontario, launched an investigation. Inspectors found that the steamer slide had design flaws that created excessive lateral forces, particularly in sharp turns, making ejections more likely. Additionally, the park staff were criticized for failing to enforce weight and rider distribution rules, which further contributed to the instability of the rafts. Calypso Water Park faced legal action from several injured guests, resulting in a landmark trial. The court found the park guilty of multiple safety violations, including inadequate maintenance and staff training. Calypso was fined over $500,000, one of the highest penalties ever imposed on a Canadian water park. The park was also ordered to make immediate modifications to the steamer, including re-engineering its curves, installing additional padding, and implementing stricter operational guidelines. Water slide incident in Anapa, Russia, 2021. In August 2021, a young boy's day of fun at a water park in Anapa, Russia, ended in tragedy when he was thrown from a water slide mid-ride, sustaining life-threatening injuries. The incident exposed significant design flaws in the slide's construction and operational oversights at the park. The accident occurred on a high-speed slide designed to propel riders through sharp turns and drops. Witnesses reported that the boy, who was riding alone, suddenly flew out of the slide during a sharp curve. He fell several meters to the ground, suffering severe head trauma and broken bones. Bystanders and park staff rushed to assist him, and he was immediately transported to a local hospital. Investigations revealed that the water slide's design had structural inconsistencies, including inadequate side barriers and a lack of reinforcement at critical points. Engineers found that the slide's turns were too sharp, creating excessive centrifugal force that increased the risk of riders being ejected. Additionally, the park had failed to enforce proper height and weight restrictions for riders, allowing younger, smaller individuals to use the slide unsafely. The incident led to public outrage, with demands for stricter safety measures in water parks across Russia. Authorities temporarily shut down the park, ordered a complete redesign of the slide, and mandated that similar attractions undergo immediate safety inspections. The park was fined for negligence, and new regulations were introduced requiring stricter enforcement of ride restrictions, improved design standards, and enhanced staff training. Wavepool Drowning at Zongulak Water Park, Turkey, 2016. In July 2016, a crowded day at a water park in Zonguldak, Turkey, turned deadly when 2 people drowned in the facility's wave pool. The incident highlighted the dangers of overcrowding and insufficient lifeguard supervision in water attractions. The wave pool, one of the park's most popular features, was packed with visitors when the tragedy occurred. Witnesses reported that the waves became unusually strong, making it difficult for weaker swimmers to stay afloat. Amid the chaos, a 14-year-old boy and a 21-year-old man were pulled under the water and went unnoticed by lifeguards for several minutes. Despite resuscitation efforts, both victims were pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators found that the wave pool had been operating beyond its recommended capacity, with dozens of swimmers packed into a confined area. This overcrowding made it nearly impossible for lifeguards to monitor the entire pool effectively. Additionally, the park's lifeguard-to-swimmer ratio was far below international safety standards, and some lifeguards lacked proper training in identifying distressed swimmers. The aftermath of the incident led to widespread criticism of the park's management. Local authorities imposed heavy fines, and the park was temporarily closed for failing to adhere to safety regulations. The tragedy also sparked national discussions about the need for stricter oversight of water park operations, resulting in new laws mandating maximum pool capacities, improved lifeguard training programs, and frequent inspections of wave pool mechanics. Tropical Islands Resort, Germany, 2020. In July 2020, a tragic incident at Tropical Islands Resort in Germany, Europe's largest indoor water park, shocked visitors when a fatal collision occurred on a popular tube slide. The accident, which claimed the life of a young man and injured others, highlighted the devastating consequences of violating spacing rules on water slides. The incident happened on a high-speed enclosed slide designed for single or tandem riders using inflatable tubes. Witnesses reported that the victim entered the slide prematurely, without allowing sufficient spacing between his tube and the group ahead. As the slide's steep curves and high water velocity accelerated the tubes, a collision occurred midway down the ride. The victim, thrown from his tube upon impact, sustained fatal head injuries when he struck the slide's walls. Other riders involved in the collision suffered minor injuries. An investigation revealed a combination of rule violations and inadequate oversight as contributing factors. Although spacing rules were clearly displayed, staff at the top of the slide failed to enforce them rigorously. Additionally, the ride lacked automated safety systems that could have detected insufficient spacing and halted the next rider's launch. The park faced significant backlash, with safety advocates questioning why human error was allowed to jeopardize guests' lives. In response, Tropical Islands Resort temporarily closed the slide and introduced strict operational changes. Staff were retrained to enforce spacing regulations, and sensors were installed to monitor tube intervals, preventing launches until adequate spacing was achieved. Wild Waves Theme Park, Washington, 2013. In August 2013, a young girl's terrifying experience on a faulty raft at Wild Waves Theme Park in Federal Way, Washington, led to serious injuries and raised questions about water ride safety. The accident occurred on a popular family water slide where the failure of an aging raft caused her to fall out mid-ride. The victim, an 11-year-old girl, was riding the multi-person slide with her family when their raft suddenly began to deflate. Without the structural support of an inflated raft, the girl slipped through the gap and fell several feet onto the slide's hard surface. She suffered a concussion, fractured ribs, and deep abrasions. Emergency responders arrived swiftly, and she was taken to a hospital for treatment. Investigators found that the raft had been in use for several years and showed visible signs of wear, including small punctures and weakened seams. Maintenance logs revealed that the park had failed to replace older rafts despite manufacturer recommendations. Staff also admitted to patching defective rafts instead of retiring them entirely, a cost-saving measure that proved disastrous. Public outrage over the incident led to immediate changes at Wild Waves theme park. The slide was closed for inspections, and the park replaced all aging equipment with new reinforced rafts. Additionally, maintenance protocols were overhauled to include regular inspections and mandatory retirement of older rafts. The park also enhanced staff training to ensure that defective equipment could be identified and removed before incidents occurred. The young girl's recovery was slow but steady, and her family's decision to file a lawsuit brought further attention to the importance of prioritizing guest safety over operational costs. The Wild Waves accident ultimately sparked safety reviews across similar parks, with many adopting stricter equipment maintenance practices.